A settlement is a built-up area where people live together and are engaged in various human activities. Some settlements, however, may not have people living in them permanently, for example, schools, hospitals, and industries. Types of settlements. There are therefore two types of settlements, namely rural settlements and urban settlements. Rural settlements are the built-up areas in the countryside. The people living in these settlements are engaged in primary production activities like farming, mining, lumbering, and other extractive activities. Urban settlements are built up in areas characterized by dense populations with the people mainly engaged in industrial activities and trading. Urbanization is a situation whereby an increasing number of people from rural areas move to and settle in towns where they engage in non-agricultural activities. It also refers to a process in which a population is transformed from a rural-based agricultural lifestyle to an urban-based non-agricultural lifestyle. The factors influencing location of settlements can be divided into two categories, namely physical and human factors. By the end of this subtopic, you should be able to identify and explain the factors that influence location of settlements. Physical factors. Physical factors are the natural environmental conditions found in the areas where the people settle. They include the following: climate, relief, drainage, soils, vegetation, pests and diseases. Climate. The two main elements of climate that influence location of settlements are rainfall and temperature. Areas that receive high rainfall, which is well distributed, as well as moderate temperatures, have dense settlements. These climatic conditions favor a variety of agricultural activities. On the other hand, arid areas have few and scattered settlements as they support little or no agricultural activities. Areas experiencing high temperatures have very low temperatures and may have few or no settlements at all, as no agricultural activities can be undertaken. The temperatures may also be uncomfortable for human habitation. Relief. The nature of the landscape, including terrain and altitude, has a great influence on location of settlements. Hilly and rugged regions have few settlements, as it is difficult to cultivate and erect dwelling units. On the other hand, gentle, low-lying slopes are densely settled. Windward sides of mountains have dense settlements as rainfall is high and temperature are moderate. The leeward sides tend to be arid and sparsely settled. The slopes receiving direct sun rays in the temperate regions are warmer and therefore attract more settlements than those facing away from the sun. Drainage. Availability of water, to a great extent, influences the people's choice of where to settle. Water is essential for domestic purposes and for irrigation. In some instances, it influences fishing and transport activities. Water bodies such as lakes, rivers, oceans, and others attract dense settlements. On the other hand, poorly drained areas like swamps, marshes, and bogs are homes to disease vectors, thus discouraging settlements. Besides, it is difficult to erect buildings on waterlogged grounds. Likewise, areas that are devoid of surface water are not attractive to settlements. Soil. The presence of fertile soils encourages agricultural activities, thus attracting settlements. Areas with poor soils discourage agriculture and are therefore sparsely settled. Major river valleys too have deep, fertile alluvial soils and are therefore characterized by dense settlements. For example, the Nile floodplain and delta in Egypt, the Niger Valley and delta in Nigeria, and the floodplains of the Ganges River in India. Vegetation. Thick vegetation, such as that of the dense tropical rainforest, discourage settlement. These are inaccessible and are habitat to wild animals and disease vectors. Bushland, thicket, and miombo woodlands harbor sesaflies, which cause trypanosomiasis and nagana or sleeping sickness. However, forest vegetation sometimes encourages settlements where such forests are exploited for economic purposes, for example, lumbering. Pests and diseases. Regions infested with disease-causing vectors are sparsely settled as people tend to avoid them. For example, swampy regions form favorable breeding grounds for mosquitoes, which causes malaria. Another example is bush and thicket vegetation, which is breeding ground for sesaflies. An example is the Lambwe Valley and Miombo woodlands. Human factors. These are factors that influence the way people settle in an area with respect to the economic activities they intend to engage in, as well as their social interactions and political influences. They include the following. Economic factors. People tend to seek and find employment in areas where such activities as farming, mining, fishing, lumbering, transportation, processing, and others are taking place. People may settle temporarily or permanently, leading to dense settlements. Historical factors. Many modern-day settlements owe their origin to historical events. These include migration. Migration of people was triggered by wars between communities, explorations, pressure on land, and disease outbreaks such as plagues, among others. Displacement of people. This was especially so when colonialists evicted people from their original homes to create land for large-scale agriculture. Insecurity. Historically, settlements were set up on perceived secure locations, for example, on hilltops, islands, and plateaus. Government policy. The government creates settlement schemes to settle the landless people. Examples of such schemes include the Mwatebere Irrigation and Settlement Scheme, Lari Settlement Scheme, Bura along the River Tana, Muhoroni Settlement Scheme, and Pekera in Baringo. In Tanzania, during the early years of independence, the government introduced the Ujamaa villages on large farms that were communally owned. However, such communally owned farms have since ceased to operate in many areas as a result of the fall of communism internationally. Security. This refers to the degree of safety or absence of crime and thuggery. People tend to avoid settling in areas that are prone to crime for their own safety as well as their property. In the arid and semi-arid areas, communities tend to settle in groups or clustered settlements to enable them provide their own security in case of attacks from enemies. A settlement pattern refers to the arrangement or layout of dwellings in a particular place. There are 4 major settlement patterns, namely Nucleated Pattern, Linear Pattern, Scattered Settlement, Radial Pattern. Nucleated Pattern. This type of settlement is a built-up types of settlements. There are therefore 2 types of settlements, namely rural settlements and urban settlements. A settlement pattern refers to settlement patterns. By the end of this topic, you should be able to identify and describe settlement patterns and explain the development of settlement patterns. Nucleated pattern. This type of settlement pattern consists of a cluster of buildings, shops, huts, or other forms of dwellings which occur close together. It is also referred to as clustered pattern. It develops as a result of the following factors. Presence of an industrial plant, a natural resource such as mineral, presence of water, among others. Limitation of building space due to a physical disadvantage, for example on a plantation where there is a specific area for houses, on an island where there is no room for expansion. Availability of social amenities such as schools, health centers and shops where people tend to settle in order to enjoy these facilities. Security concerns where people tend to settle close together, especially in banditry-prone areas, in order to offer collective security. Linear pattern. This one is made up of the dwellings that are formed along a line type of feature such as road, river, canal, coastline, or edge of a forest. The reasons why such pattern is formed include presence of roads or footpaths for ease of transportation, presence of rivers which provide easy transport and or water for domestic and other uses, presence of a coastline that borders a sea or lake with fishing opportunities, the foot of an escarpment or valley where there is fertile soils that favor agriculture. Scattered settlement. This is also known as dispersed pattern. In this pattern, settlements appear spread over an area at random all over the place. Such pattern is common in rural areas where the landscape is gently sloping with well-drained and fertile soils over a wide area. There is no restrictions to where one settles and land is readily available. Water is also available within easy reach and there is good security. Radial pattern. This pattern is sometimes called the star-shaped pattern. It is common at points where roads converge at a central point or at crossroads. People build their houses along the various roads in all directions. Accessibility to transport is the main factor determining this pattern, but economic activities that may develop at the convergence points of the roads also contributes to its growth. Distribution of major urban centers in East Africa. We shall start our discussion by examining the factors that influence the growth of urban centers in East Africa. They include the following: rapid population increase, transport routes and facilities, mining activities, industrial activities, administration, trade, tourism, education institutions, government policy, and geographical inertia. Rapid population increase. This leads to distribution of major urban centers in East Africa. We shall start our discussion by examining the factors that influence the growth of urban centers in East Africa. They include the following: rapid population increase, transport routes and facilities, mining activities, industrial activities, administration, trade, tourism, education institutions, government policy, and geographical inertia. Rapid population increase. This leads to land fragmentation, which in turn lowers agricultural productivity. People turn to trade and industry, which are urban-based, thus leading to urban growth. Transport routes and facilities. Many urban areas owe their growth and existence to the presence of transport facilities like roads, railway lines, and ports. Road and railway junctions form a nucleus for urban growth, leading to emergence of gap towns, known commonly bearing the name of Makutano. Railway termini too, in a way, have also led to growth of urban centers. Mining activities. Extraction of minerals attracts settlements, starting with the miners themselves settling in the areas. This is followed by other service providers like traders, hoteliers, and bankers. Towns such as Magadi, Shinyanga in Tanzania, and Kasese in Uganda have their origin and growth to mining. Identify the minerals mined in each of the named towns. Industrial activities. Industrial activities create employment opportunities at different levels, thus attracting settlements. People working in industries live near their places of work to reduce transport costs. They also require certain services such as shops, schools, dispensaries, and recreation areas. Other people come in to provide these services, leading to the growth and expansion of area into a town. Thika and Athi River towns in Kenya and Jinja town in Uganda are examples of towns that have grown as a result of industrial activities. Administration. Administrative centers are noted to have contributed to development and growth of some towns. People tend to settle where they will access essential administrative services and have adequate security. Most of the provincial and district headquarters in Kenya have grown into urban centers. The most notable examples in Kenya include Eldama Ravine, Nyeri, Kapenguria, and Wundanyi. Trade. Market centers emerge where trading activities are undertaken. People tend to settle at these centers to offer related services and facilities. The towns of Karatina, Taveta, Busia, and Namanga are examples of towns that owe their origin and existence of trading activities. Tourism. Tourist attraction centers or resorts may, over time, develop into towns. Settlements may be attracted to these centers as people seek employment in the industry. There are also other activities related to tourism. These include trade and service industry that may grow up around the tourist resorts. Examples of towns that have grown up in this way include Ukunda on the south coast and Mtwapa on the north coast of Mombasa. Education institutions. Establishment of education institutions such as colleges and universities has led to the growth of urban centers. The rapid expansion of Eldorade town can be attributed to the establishment and expansion of more university and the constituent colleges. The growth of Njoro town can partly be attributed to the presence of Egerton University, which started as a college of agriculture and eventually became a university. Thika town is also expanding rapidly with the presence of a number of universities within and around campuses, hotels, colleges, and even schools. Makutano town in Meru is home for several education institutions. Government policy. In a bid to curb pollution in urban areas and reduce rural to urban migration, the government may decentralize industries. The rural areas where new industries are set up grow into urban centers. Athi River town is a good example of a town that has grown up in this way. A government may decide to move its capital city to a new location, which may be a small town that is more central within the country. This creates an impetus for its growth. Tanzania moved its capital from Dar es Salaam to Dodoma, the same way Nigeria moved its capital from Lagos to Abuja. Geographical inertia. This is the inability of people to move to a new location, even though the initial advantages of settling in a place no longer hold. They remain in the same place, and this leads to continued population growth and diversification of functions, leading to urban growth. For example, Kakamega town was initially a gold mining town, but still grew even after gold mining had stopped. Another example is that of Kilembe town, which has continued to grow even after the closure of the copper mines. A case study of an industrial center of Thika. Thika town is located 40 kilometers to the northeast of Nairobi along the Nairobi-Nyeri highway. It started in the 19th century as a market by the Kikuyu and Akamba traders. Today it has grown into a major industrial town. It is the 8th largest town in Kenya with a total population of 136,576 persons, according to the 2009 census. factors that contributed to the growth of Thika Town. The following are some of the factors that led to the growth of Thika Town: accessibility, high population, abundant supply of water, proximity to Nairobi, availability of land, availability of social amenities, availability of raw materials, and availability of power. Accessibility. Thika Town is easily accessible as it is well connected to the neighboring regions through the Nairobi-Nyeri Highway, the Thika-Garissa Road, the Thika-Naivasha Road, as well as the Nairobi-Nanyuki Railway Line. This makes the movement of people, raw material and finished products easy. High population. The neighboring former districts of Kiambu, Maragua and Murang'a, and now the counties of Kiambu and Murang'a, have high population. This population provides labor needed in the industries as well as market for a variety of finished products. Abundant supply of water. Water from rivers Chania and Thika is used both in the industries and homes for domestic purposes. Proximity to Nairobi. Thika Town is located near Nairobi. Some of the industries in Nairobi have branches in Thika Town. There has also been a policy of decentralizing industries from Nairobi. This led to allocating some industries to Thika, which was in proximity to Nairobi. Industries in Thika can easily access raw materials from Nairobi industries. This include metal bars and sheets for the car assembly and repair industries, as well as oil from the Nairobi depots for the cooking oil and cooking fat industries. The large population of Nairobi city provides Thika Town with a ready market for its industrial products. Availability of land. The expansive tracts of unoccupied land facilitated establishment of industries. Besides, the land is gently sloping and provides ample room for expansion. Availability of social amenities. There are adequate social amenities such as schools, hospitals, stadia and hotels. There are also waterfalls, namely Chania, Thika and 14 Falls, which are tourist attraction sites. Also, these have led to rapid population and economic growth of the town. Availability of raw materials. Thika Town is located within a productive county of Kiambu. It is also near another agriculturally productive county of Murang'a. These provide food to their own residents as well as agricultural produce for sale among traders. These counties are also a source of raw materials needed in some industries. Availability of power. Thika Town is located along the main lines that transport hydroelectric power from the Seven Forks power projects on Tana River. These supply ample electric power for industrial and domestic use. Functions of Thika Town. Thika Town is famous as an industrial town. It also performs other functions including being an administrative center, as for some time it has been the district headquarters of Thika district. There are several education institutions including universities, colleges and schools, making it an educational center. Many commercial and trading activities go on within the town, making it a trading and commercial center. There are also many banks and financial institutions. It is a focal point of communication lines, mainly roads and railways, making it a communication center. A case study of a lake port of Kisumu. Kisumu town is located on the eastern shores of Lake Victoria at the Winam Gulf. Its history dates back to 1901 when the Kenya-Uganda railway line reached Lake Victoria. At first the town was known as Port Florence, but it later changed to Kisumu, which in the Luo language means a meeting point. Currently, Kisumu City is one of the largest towns in East Africa, being the third largest in Kenya after Nairobi and Mombasa cities. It has a population of 259,258 people according to the 2009 population census. Kisumu has grown and developed into a leading lake port in East Africa because of the following factors: long history, strategic location, industrial growth and development, high population, availability of fresh water, agricultural hinterland, availability of power, presence of education institutions, tourism, administrative services. Long history. Upon the completion of the Kenya-Uganda Railway in 1901, many of the Asians who were involved in railway building settled there and started commercial businesses. The first investment led to the initial growth of the town. Strategic location. Kisumu is strategically located on the shores of Lake Victoria. It is the gateway to Uganda, being the terminus of the Kenya-Uganda Railway, which connects the Indian Ocean to Lake Victoria. Goods from and to Uganda are handled at Kisumu using the lake steamers. It is also a transportation and communication hub for Nyanza and the western region of Kenya. It is also the commercial and industrial focus of the region. As a lake port, it handles regional trade with Uganda and Tanzania. Industrial growth and development. Kisumu can be described as an industrial town with various industries such as fish processing, textiles, breweries, soft drinks bottling, boat repairs, soap making, printing and molasses processing. These industries have acted as an impetus for the growth of Kisumu City. They have attracted many job seekers, which has contributed to the growth in population. High population. Areas such as Kakamega, Siaya, Bondo and Vihiga districts, which are surrounding Kisumu, are densely populated. This population provides adequate labor to the industries in Kisumu town, as well as ready market for the finished products. Availability of fresh water. Lake Victoria provides plenty of fresh water, which is used both for domestic as well as industrial purposes. Agricultural hinterland. Kisumu is surrounded by regions that are agriculturally productive, especially Western Kenya. Agricultural raw materials provide a base for development of agricultural processing industries such as sugar processing and grain milling. The agricultural hinterland also ensures a steady supply of food to the town residents. Availability of power. Hydroelectric power, initially from Uganda, but now available locally, has enabled industries to grow and expand. Presence of education institutions. Kisumu town is home to a number of educational institutions, including Maseno University and its constituent colleges, Kisumu Polytechnic, Ramogi Institute of Technology, and several schools. They have contributed to the growth of the city. Tourism. Kisumu has several tourist attractions like the museum, the Impala Sanctuary, the granitic tools of Seme, for example, Kit Mikai and Luanda Magere Legendary Rock. The Winam Gulf and marine wildlife of the lakes are also attractions. The tourism sector creates employment and generates income for the local population. Administrative services. Kisumu has served as the provisional headquarters of Nyanza province for a long time. It is home to some leading organizations such as the Lake Basin Development Authority. This attracts investment and consequent growth of the town. Functions of Kisumu town. Kisumu is an important town in the region, covering Nyanza and Western Kenya. It performs a number of functions. They include administrative center, tourism center, education center, communication center, industrial center, religious center, commercial center, agricultural collecting center, recreation center, and financial center. Administrative Center. Kisumu has offices for provincial administration as well as for some leading organizations. Tourism Center. Kisumu has many tourist attractions both within and around the city. This makes it a converging point for tourists, both domestic and international. Education Center. Kisumu town, with a number of education institutions, has made it a center of learning. Communication Center. Kisumu is a communication center where roads from Nairobi, Uganda and northern Kenya converge. It is also a terminus for the Mombasa-Kisumu Railway. It has an international airport and is a lake port. Industrial Center. The town has several manufacturing and processing industries. They include footwear, confectionery, flour milling, furniture making, and soap making. Religious Center. The town has several churches and cathedrals, as well as mosques and temples, which make it a center for religious activities. Commercial Center. Kisumu is the biggest commercial center in Western and Nyanza regions. It has a variety of shops, ranging from small kiosks to large hypermarkets as well as marketplaces. It hosts a branch of the central bank, and there are several commercial banks as well as financial institutions. Agricultural Collecting Center. Kisumu is in the center of an agriculturally productive region of Western and Nyanza provinces. A lot of agricultural produce is brought to the town for sale and distribution. The produce includes foodstuffs, dairy produce, and cash crops. Recreation Center. The town has many hotels, a golf club, a sports stadium, and entertainment centers. Financial Center. A branch of the Central Bank of Kenya is located within Kisumu City. There are several commercial banks as well as other financial institutions. A case study of an agricultural collecting center, Eldorade town. Eldorade owes its name as an agricultural collecting center from its history. It was started by the white settlers in Uasin Gishu and Trans Nzoia in 1908 as a center for collecting their agricultural produce in readiness for the market. Located to the west of the Rift Valley along the Sosian River, Eldorade is a fast-growing town, being the fifth largest town in Kenya with a population of 252,061 according to the 2009 population census. Factors which have contributed to the growth of Eldorade. The following are the major factors which have contributed to the growth of Eldorade. Strategic location, rich agricultural hinterland, key collecting center, administrative center, availability of land, education facilities, availability of social amenities, tourist center, industrial center, the high population, availability of power. Strategic location, Eldorade is located strategically along the Nairobi-Kampala International Highway. Its nearness to Uganda and Southern Sudan favors its development as a vibrant export center. Rich agricultural hinterland. The town is located in the heart of some of the richest agricultural districts in Kenya. A lot of agricultural products are processed in Eldorade town. This in turn leads to rapid growth. Key collecting center. Eldorade has key collecting and export facilities. It has an inland container depot, an oil terminus and depot, an international airport oil pipeline connection, all of which enhance the town's capacity to handle cargo. Being surrounded by rich agricultural districts, it is also an agricultural produce collecting center for processing and export of agricultural products to other parts of the country and abroad. Administrative center. Eldorade town has been the headquarters of Uasin Gishu district for a long time and now a county. Leading organizations such as Kerio Valley Development Authority have their headquarters here. It is a leading regional planning center for the North Rift Valley region. Availability of land. Extensive tracts of land were readily available during the establishment of the town. The town is located on the Uasin Gishu Plateau, which is characterized by gently sloping terrain, which is suitable for construction of buildings. Education facilities. The town has very many schools, colleges, and a few university campuses, such as more university campuses within and around the town. Eldorade Polytechnic, Mosorio Teachers College are also in Eldorade. Availability of social amenities. There are sufficient social amenities like cinema halls, discotheques, sports stadia, training camps for athletes, and hotels and lodges. These investments offer job opportunities and contribute to the growth of the town. Tourist center. The town is located in an area with a wide panoramic view of the North Rift Valley, especially from the nearby Iten viewpoint. The town has also a number of high-class hotels, for example, Sirikwa, Wagon Hill, and White Castle hotels. It is also a converging point of tourist routes from Uganda, Kisumu, North Rift, and Nairobi. Industrial center. The town has many industries such as textile industries, namely Kennet, Rivertex, and Raymond. There are dairy industries such as the New Kenya Cooperative Creameries (UHT) plant, flour milling, leather and tanning factory, the East African Tanning and Extract Company, timber industries such as Ripley Company Limited, and bottling companies, for example, Rift Valley Bottlers Limited. Availability of power. The town is well connected to the national grid system of electricity distribution, which supplies the town with the much needed power to turn the industries. Power is also available for lighting the town and for use in homes. This has also contributed immensely to the rapid growth of the town. Functions of Eldorade town. As discussed under growth of this town, it can be observed that Eldorade town performs many functions. It is a communication center. The town is the focal point of roads to Uganda, Kisumu, Nairobi and Lodwar in the north and into Sudan. The railway line from Mombasa to Kampala passes through the town, and there is a branch to Kitale. The oil pipeline has its terminus at the oil depot in town. There is also an international airport within the town. There is at least a radio station and post office as well as many internet outlets. It is also an administrative center as it hosts the headquarters of the Uasin Gishu County, law courts, as well as other organizations. It has a strong town council headed by a mayor. The town is an education center with very many schools, colleges, and university campuses. It also has a Kenya Polytechnic. Many students from all over the country come here to seek education. It is a financial center with a branch at the Central Bank of Kenya located here. There are also several commercial banks and other financial institutions in the town. Eldorade town is an agricultural collecting center. Its location within an agricultural region makes it ideal as a center for agricultural produce. These are sold to town residents, while others are either processed or sold directly to areas outside the town. It is an industrial center with several processing industries for agricultural produce, timber, leather and textiles. It is also a tourism center with several attractions within the neighborhood and hotels for accommodating tourists after their tours of the surrounding regions. The town is also a religious center with several churches, cathedrals, and mosques to cater for the relatively high population in the area. It is also a recreation center with sports stadia, hotels, sports golf club, entertainment halls, and nightclubs. Eldorade is also a residential center with several housing estates and units for the high, medium, and low-income groups. Related studies of Nairobi and New York. Nairobi City. Nairobi derives its name from the Maasai language Enkare Nairobi, which means a place of cool waters. It was established as a railway camp in 1899 during the construction of the Kenya-Uganda railway line. Nairobi later grew to become the administrative capital of the British East Africa Protectorate in 1907. It was elevated to the status of a city in 1962. Presently, Nairobi is one of the biggest cities in Africa and is among the fastest growing cities. It is Kenya's capital city and headquarters for several international bodies. The following factors have contributed to the growth of Nairobi city. Industries. Nairobi is the leading industrial city in East Africa. Many industries have come up in and around the city, thereby contributing to its growth. Among them are motor vehicle assembly, brewing, soft drinks bottling, milk processing, textile manufacture, fruit canning, electronics, light and heavy engineering, and confectionaries. Administration. Nairobi is the capital city and the seat of government. It is also the provisional headquarters of Nairobi province and is a county. It currently hosts several district headquarters. Education Center. Many learning institutions are located in Nairobi. These include University of Nairobi, Kenyatta University, United States International University, Methodist University, Strathmore University, and many campuses for other local and international universities. There are also a host of middle-level colleges, both private and public, and very many schools. These attract thousands of students and teachers from all over the world. Population immigration. The various industries, education institutions, and other functions and activities in Nairobi attract a lot of job seekers, scholars, and settlers. This has immensely contributed to the growth of Nairobi. The immigrants are both local and international. Tourism. Nairobi is a major tourism destination with its unique tourist attractions, among them the Nairobi National Park, Nature Trail, Giraffe Center, cultural centers at Bomas of Kenya, the Snake Park, Animal Orphanage, Kenya Museum and Archives Library, and several five-star hotels. Hotels include Lyco Regency, Serena Hotel, the Norfolk Hotel, New Stanley Hotel, Safari Park Hotel, and Utalii Hotel. All these have led to enhancement of tourist activities. Accessibility. Nairobi is easily accessible both locally and internationally. It has the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport and Wilson Airport, an elaborate road network linking Nairobi to the rest of the country and neighboring countries, and the Kenya-Uganda railway line. This has led to increased economic activities and subsequent growth. International Center. Nairobi has modern conference facilities, for example, the Kenya International Conference Center. A number of international organizations have their headquarters in Nairobi. They include the United Nations Environmental Programme, UNEP, International Laboratory in Research on Animal Diseases, Eldorade, UN Habitat, International Center for Insect Physiology and Ecology, ICIPE, and International Center for Research in Agroforestry, ICRAF. These organizations have the personnel hosted in Nairobi, which has also enhanced growth. Despite the tremendous growth of Nairobi city, several changes have cropped up. They include unemployment. Rural to urban migration has contributed to a large number of youths flocking the city in search of employment. The rate of growth of the city can't match the rate of influx of immense numbers of people, hence the high rate of unemployment. This lowers the living standards of many people in the city. Inadequate housing. High demand for houses is caused by the high population increase and has led to high house rent, which is unaffordable for the many low-income earners. This has led to the mushrooming of slums, for example, Mathare, Kibera, Mukuru, Korogocho, and Soweto, among others. Pollution. The dense population in Nairobi generates tons of domestic garbage on a daily basis. This is sometimes poorly disposed of, causing land pollution, evidenced by heaps of garbage. Industries and motor vehicles cause noise and air pollution due to emissions of smoke. A lot of waste and toxic industrial waste is disposed into rivers, thus harming aquatic life and rendering river water unsuitable for human use. Traffic congestion. Heavy traffic during the rush hours causes slow movement. Crime and insecurity. Nairobi has been experiencing an increase in crime rate due to unemployment and slow rate of economic growth in the country. Consequently, criminal incidents such as carjacking, muggings, drug trafficking, prostitution, kidnapping, and rape are quite common, leading to insecurity. New York. New York is one of the largest cities in the United States of America, USA. It is located on the mouth of Hudson River and is mainly situated on islands in the Atlantic Ocean and partially on the mainland. The islands are mainly Long Island, Staten Island, Manhattan, and Jersey Islands. New York is a cosmopolitan city with a population of about 10 million people. New York. New York is one of the largest cities in the United States of America, USA. It is located on the mouth of Hudson River and is mainly situated on islands in the Atlantic Ocean and partially on the mainland. The islands are mainly Long Island, Staten Island, Manhattan, and Jersey Islands. New York is a cosmopolitan city with a population of about 10 million people. It was started by the Native American Indians who named it Manhattan. Later on, the Dutch renamed it New Amsterdam. When the British took over in 1664, they renamed it New York. Since then, the city has grown into one of the major cities of the world due to the following factors. Presence of a seaport. The construction of the New York State Barge Canal linked River Hudson to Lake Erie in the interior. The bulk of agricultural and industrial products from the Great Lakes region passed through New York City, leading to its growth. New York Port handles up to 25% of all North America's trade. International Center. Several international organizations have their headquarters in New York, for example, the United Nations, the World Bank, and the International Monetary Fund. Transport and Communication Center. Apart from the seaport, New York is connected to the rest of the world and has the international airports, namely John F. Kennedy, Newark, and LaGuardia. There are bridges, tunnels, ferries, and railway lines connecting to the islands of New York to the interior. Education and Cultural Center. New York has numerous universities, colleges, schools, and training institutions. These institutions accommodate people of all races, both from the USA and other parts of the world. Industrial Center. New York is a leading industrial center in North America. It has both light and heavy industries, including shipbuildings, engineering, oil refining, chemical industry, food processing, leather and textiles, publishing and printing, among others. Recreational and Cultural Center. There are nightclubs and casinos, cinema halls, social halls, arena and parks, for example, Central Park and Madison Square Garden. This attracts both local and international. New York's growth, however successful, is facing some serious challenges. Among them, most of the immigrants in New York are unskilled, making them unable to source jobs, thus leading to unemployment. Traffic congestion caused by over 800,000 motions who venture into New York daily. This causes delay in the delivery of goods and services. Study of Mombasa as a port. Mombasa is the largest port on the East African coast and the second largest town in Kenya after Nairobi. Located 40 degrees east and 39 degrees south of the equator on the shores of the Indian Ocean. Mombasa started as a small settlement during the era of slave trade. It was established as a resting place and a calling port for the long-distance traders between the Shirazi, Arabs, and Bantus. It served as a provision depot and collection center for caravan of ivory and slaves en route to Middle East and India. Factors that have led the growth of Mombasa city include presence of a deep sheltered harbour at Kilindini with the ability to handle import and export items in and out of East and Central Africa. Presence of large hinterland. The port of Mombasa serves an extensive area of East and Central Africa, including the whole of Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, East DRC, and Southern Sudan. The areas are rich agriculturally and have plenty of mineral resources. Strategic location. Mombasa is strategically located along the East African coast. Its support with world connections, ships from Europe through either the Suez Canal or Cape of Good Hope to Asia pass through Mombasa. Ships from Far East to Southern African pass through Mombasa. Tourist and Culture Center. The town has many tourist attraction features, for example, the warm sandy beaches, water sports, historical sites, archaeological and architectural designs, a rich cultural heritage, and tourist hotels.